My mom, 44, had me, 19 female, and my two younger brothers with our bio dad. She started dating Jason, 46, almost a year ago. Jason honestly just gives me bad vibes. I feel like he's always staring at me and my body, and I brought it up to my mama. Sometimes when I would get up and use the bathroom in the middle of the night, it's like coincidentally, he gets up and tries to use the bathroom too. He wiggles the door, which I always have locked. He won't stop until a few minutes go by, and it seems like he's trying to get in. I might be paranoid, but if my room door is open and you see lights from the bathroom, obviously someone's in there. Mom said she spoke to him about it, and he's claiming he's just half asleep. It stopped, but I think it's just because I told my mom. Yesterday, my mom wasn't home, and I was showering. About 30 minutes in, he knocked on the door, saying he was late and needed to shower, and I had to get out because I was taking a while. It was weird, but I told him to give me a second, and then I would be out because I was shampooing my long hair. 5 minutes later, he's knocking again, and the door is rattling. I scream, "Just wait," and it's quiet. A few minutes later, he comes back and unlocks the door. For reference, it's one of those locks you can open with a butter knife and twist to the side. He enters the bathroom and says if I don't get out right now, he's going to turn the shower off. I screamed and called him a creep for unlocking the door while I was naked in the shower. My mother wasn't home, and he was entering a private space, and there was no reason he couldn't wait. I screamed for him to get out, which he did, thankfully. I went to my room, locked my door, got dressed, and called Uber to my dad's house. I have a key. I waited for my dad to get home from work. I told him the full story about all the previous incidents and this current one that just happened. He called my mom and went off. He went back to my mom's house to confront Jason. They had some words and now I'm out of the loop. I think they almost fought though. My dad said I could stay with him permanently, and I've gladly taken the offer. He also told me he's trying to get my brothers to live with us, but they need court since they're not legally adults. The problem is, my mom thinks I was over-exaggerating since Jason didn't see me or do anything wrong and said she'd speak to him. So I snapped. I told her she never really heard me, and he literally could have done anything to me by unlocking that door, and I've told her before I don't feel safe around him, and she ignored it. I told her I'm an adult, and I can tell when I'm uncomfortable, and she's blind for not seeing red flags. I guess I hurt her feelings because she started crying and said she's sorry and I'm right, but he makes her happy. I told her she could stay with that creep of a man because she never listens to me and obviously doesn't care, and I'm going to stay with my father. So now she's just texting me, begging me to come home, but I won't until she breaks up with Jason. Am I the idiot for feeling unsafe around this man and yelling at my mom? Not the idiot. Just gives me bad vibes. This is an internal instinct, sometimes referred to as a gut feeling. Do not ignore that. It's a natural reaction people have to certain situations of danger. You did the best you could in this situation. Agreed. Do not go back to mom's house. Do not be around this man. By begging you to come back, your mom is begging you to put yourself in danger so she can pretend her boyfriend isn't gross and dangerous, and she isn't a bad mom. Every day you refuse to be around him or in her home is a day she will have trouble pretending he's a nice guy. A day she will have trouble pretending she isn't a terrible parent for not putting her kids' well-being first. You are not a prop for her life. Your safety is not a reasonable price to pay for her game of pretend. The man who is creeping on her daughter makes her happy? Yeah, you are not the idiot. It's pretty pathetic that she's so desperate for male company that she'd instead turn a blind eye to her boyfriend being awful than doing the right thing and kicking him out. I don't think there is any discussion to be had with him. It's an unforgivable offense in my opinion. You did nothing wrong. Stay away from him. If that means that your mom doesn't get to see you as often, well, tough luck. She made her choice. Everyone's the idiot here. He shouldn't have invaded your privacy. However, if you're 30 minutes into a shower and someone tells you they need to shower, the courteous thing to do would be to wrap up quickly. He overreacted, but by your math, you took nearly a 40-minute shower. He has no right to open the door while you're indisposed, but I can understand why he would be upset if you're taking your time while he's late. I too would have yelled you down, especially if you don't contribute to household bills. I thought the same thing. 30 minutes is a long time in the shower. If it's their only bathroom, when he asked the first time, she should have tried to finish quickly. But he does sound a bit weird. Maybe he's entirely too comfortable in the house. My wedding was 2 weeks ago. The whole thing started when mother-in-law, we don't get along much, she has a mental condition, wanted to wear white to my wedding. I asked why she insisted on committing a social faux, and she said she liked white and it always looked good on her. I said sorry, but no. She got another dress, but still white. She was like, "What? You asked me to get another dress and I did." I said I meant the color, and she insisted the color was fine and kept pressuring me by sending pictures of several dresses for me to review, but they were white. Finally, I got tired of her stalling, then telling the family I was being difficult, having her replace over 8 dresses. At the wedding, she showed up in red and looked unhappy. Before the ceremony began, she was walking around with a drink in her hand, lashing out at anyone trying to get her to sit. She insisted on hugging me and saying goodbye to her son before the ceremony, and the next thing I knew, she spilled wine all over my dress. It was horrific. My maid of honor rushed to assist, but I was busy asking mother-in-law what she did, and she kept saying it was an accident. Finally, I got into an argument with her, and she started yelling at me for implying it was deliberate. I kicked her out and had the staff escort her. She refused at first, then started yelling, "I hope your plane crashes and only husband's name survives," and left. You can imagine how I felt stuck in a wine-soaked $1,600 dress. I was angry and my night was ruined. I was in the hotel's bathroom later when my sister-in-law called and said what her mom did was 100% permitted, as she was bitter for weeks that I forbid her from wearing white and heard her say if I can't wear white, then neither can she. Then proceeded to explain how she'll make it look like an accident. I lost it. I broke down in the bathroom, blaming myself for not being careful. I got out and told him what his mom did was deliberate, and his sister just confirmed it. He was like he wasn't sure, and said I don't have solid proof, and reminded me his mom blew up only after I kicked her out, and explained how hard it must have been for her, being kicked out of her son's wedding. He said maybe I should consider working things out with her at some point in the future, if she wants. I was stunned. After this stunt, I stated I wanted nothing to do with her, went back inside the bathroom and shouted, "I'm going no contact with your mother. You hear?" He peeked through the door and asked, "Wait, you're going no contact with my mother? That's what you're planning to do?" Then said it was an accident. It's not like she spilled gasoline on me. I don't know if he was sarcastic, but he and his family said I messed up by kicking mother-in-law out over an accident and robbing her of her son's wedding after she did her best to accommodate me, and I was vicious and out of line. So, am I the idiot here? Not the idiot. You can still get an annulment. I'm sorry, you don't have a mother-in-law problem. You have a husband problem. He's the one who should have been putting a stop to her behavior long ago, and he isn't interested in doing that. He's the one who should have handled her at your wedding, not you. And I guarantee you that this will never get better if he's not willing to step up. Not the idiot, but your husband is. I'd be reconsidering my relationship if I were in your shoes, because he's an inconsiderate tool who doesn't value you or take what his mother did seriously. She ruined your dress out of spite at your wedding, and your husband couldn't care less. That's the real issue here. OP, you're nicer than me. If I had a mother-in-law stating that she wanted to wear my color at the wedding, before the wedding, I'd have uninvited her immediately and said SO that either his mother could be respectful or she could simply not come. And wanting to wear the bride's color is very disrespectful. The only error was, you kicked her not far enough and too late, but she needed that kick. Go no contact with her and keep that up. I, nearly adult female, have a little sister, young teen, who's extremely spoiled. She doesn't like to share. She hates not getting her way. And most of all, she throws tantrums when she's told no. My parents refuse to address her behavior, so she continues to behave this way. Today was the first time in years my sister had friends over to hang out. My mom had groceries sent full of snacks they were to share. My sister grabbed most of the snacks, and one of the girls wanted a bag of gummy bears. My sister said no, but she had 3 bags, so I took one from her and gave it to the friend. She dropped all of what was in her hand and started stomping her feet, whining about wanting all of them. My dad made me give it back to her, so I gave her friends some fruit snacks instead. Then they were looking for a movie to watch, and the two girls agreed on one, but my sister wanted to watch a different movie. When I told her it was only fair the girls got to pick because they were her guest and she was outnumbered, she got upset and went to tell again. At this point, both girls said they wanted to go home, so my dad took them home. I told my sister as long as she continues to act this way, she'll never have friends. I told her to expect to go to school tomorrow and have no friends. She started crying and my dad said I was out of line. Am I the idiot for what I said? Not the idiot. Your parents are turning her into a monster. They might force you to deal with it at home, but they can't force people outside of the family. She's going to be friendless, dateless. No one is going to put up with that in a romantic partner either. I can see her being a major promzilla. Oh, and jobless. Can you imagine someone doing this at a job? Someone says, "Hey, I need the Johnson file," and she screams no, throwing the file on the ground and jumping up and down on it, yelling no? Not the idiot. She's going to have a real rude awakening when she's an adult if she carries on like this. Honestly though, I would just stay out of it for your own sake. If your parents refuse to take responsibility, then life will. I hope your parents see that your sister needs help. Having those kind of tantrums at 14 years old isn't normal anymore. Wow, your little sister is spoiled, and you are correct about not having friends. Unfortunately, she's also going to be gossiped about and made fun of. She's in for a terrible school experience. Your parents are at fault for allowing her to grow up to be this way. What is amazing is how two children from the same home become such different people. Sleep good knowing you trying to help her learn to be a decent person. I have two sons, Isaiah 22 and Daniel 24. They had a great childhood together, save for typical siblings disagreements, but nothing out of the ordinary. They grew up in a big family with loving grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins on both sides. However, as they entered their teenage years, they started resenting each other for outside reasons because there were no issues at home. Daniel saw a young lady when he was 20. It was his high school sweetheart, even after school, that he planned to get engaged to, but it never happened because Isaiah lied to her about Daniel stealing from her parents, and she and her parents believed him. It turned out Isaiah was the one who stole jewelry from Daniel's ex-girlfriend's parents' house and pinned it to Daniel. As a result, her parents filed a police report, and Daniel suffered from the lie Isaiah told to get back at him for selling the bike that originally belonged to Daniel. They were both legally adults when this happened, and we were told to stay out of their conflict, but we couldn't help but get caught up in the middle. Eventually, the boys stopped seeing or talking to each other. Daniel lives in a rental apartment while Isaiah is still in college. Both boys are in contact with the family and me. Daniel is getting married this month. He sent me, his dad, and everyone else in the family an invitation, except for Isaiah. I called Daniel to ask, since I assumed he probably didn't send Isaiah an invitation, but expected him to accompany my husband and me. He told me no, he intended not to invite his brother because he didn't want him at his wedding. I felt heavy because Isaiah already apologized and sought forgiveness and gave Daniel time and space to reconcile. Still, Daniel kept ignoring him, saying he wanted nothing to do with him. I explained how I felt he was too harsh on his brother, and he told me not to pressure him about it and respect his decision. So I didn't pressure him, but informed him that since Isaiah isn't invited, then I'm not coming to the wedding. Daniel threw a fit about how I was trying to corner him into inviting Isaiah, but I replied that I wasn't. I wasn't trying to pressure him or trying to change his mind. I was just letting him know. He lashed out, calling me unbelievable for making his wedding about Isaiah and not respecting his wishes. He added that I was selfish for putting Isaiah's feelings over his, and on his wedding day no less. We argued, then he hung up after telling me that if I didn't attend, he'd never speak to me again. We haven't talked since then, and my husband agrees that Daniel is complicating things and not being graceful towards his brother, who wants to share his happy day with him. So, one son tried to ruin the other son's life with multiple lies, and you're angry that he wasn't invited to a wedding? You are the idiot, OP. That involved the police, and against his other fiancé? This isn't some little spat, OP. This is serious. It blew up his brother's entire life. And what were the consequences for Isaiah? Let me guess, none? If I were your older son, I'd just uninvite you and write you out of my life. How dare you make this an ultimatum? You have damaged your relationship with him, and I doubt it will ever come back because I wouldn't forgive you. Oh yeah, you're an idiot in this. Your husband is an idiot too, mostly because you're siding with the brother who quite literally committed a crime and used Danny as a scapegoat. I cut ties with him as well. So yes, you're a nice big old idiot, and you probably ruined your relationship with your son. But at least you have a criminal in your corner. Congrats. You are the idiot. Isaiah is not old and does not deserve Daniel's forgiveness. Neither do you for continually trying to pretend like what Daniel did was excusable. If you don't go to that wedding, you will never know your grandkids. I dearly hope the family Daniel's marrying into are good people, because you are not. My female 26, fiance male 30, and my dad 52 always had a beef together. They don't get along all that well, but can be civil to one another. My dad has a dog, Junior, that he has owned for 5+ years. He'd bring it to me occasionally to watch while he gets some work done. The thing is, my fiance is allergic to dogs. He told Dad to stop bringing his dog over to our place since he has an allergy. Dad continued to bring his dog for me to watch by begging, saying that he couldn't leave Junior alone. I'd agree to do it anyway and try to keep Junior away from my fiance. My fiance expressed his frustration and anger towards my dad's lack of consideration for his complaints. This past Thursday, Junior was left with me at my place while Dad went to work hours away. I gave Junior food and then went to get some sleep for an hour. I woke up and didn't find my fiance nor Junior home. I called my dad, asking if he came and got Junior, but he didn't. He started freaking out. I called my fiance, who returned home, saying he arranged for Junior to be with a new family and asked me to lie to my dad and tell him Junior ran away. I was angry. I, of course, told my dad that my fiance had taken him and demanded him to bring him back. My dad immediately called the police and accused my fiance of stealing his dog. I was shocked when he said the cops were coming. I yelled at my dad for getting the police involved and told him I'd fix it myself. Cops got involved. There was a ton of confusion. Junior was returned, and the report was eventually ruled out as a family dispute. I was relieved, but my fiance was this close to getting arrested, and our wedding was just around the corner. I went over to my dad's house and argued with him for going as far as calling the cops on my fiance. He said my fiance was a piece of work and wished me luck in spending my life with a narcissist. I got upset and told him his invitation would be revoked and no longer invited to my wedding. He lost it, saying I can't do that to him when it was my fiance who committed a horrid act against him and his dog, and that I was punishing him for something my fiance did. I refused to argue, and he sent people to shame me, saying excluding him from my wedding was petty, since my fiance was an idiot and deserved to be arrested, but got lucky he didn't. My fiance is on my side despite being angry with him initially, and said he couldn't take this disrespect anymore, but Dad isn't having it and is blasting me on social media. Everyone's the idiot here. You suck for acting like a neutral party when you constantly agreed to watch a dog your boyfriend was allergic to, and for being offended that your dad called the police when his dog was literally stolen. Fiance sucks because he's a flippin' dog thief, and that's such a crazy way to escalate things when he should have told you to cut the crap and stop letting your dad talk you into watching the dog. Finally, your dad sucks for being pushy about you babysitting his dog in the first place. Congrats. Hope your marriage is happy and free of drama. You're exactly right. Everyone here is terrible. Interestingly enough, Dad calling the cops over it was not an idiot move at all. That is exactly how something like what the fiancé did should be handled. OP seems to be all about supporting everyone around them in their efforts to be awful people. You all deserve each other.